Hey everyone, and welcome to Comics from the Multiverse, DC Comics podcast from Melt Fuzz TV. I am Peter, and I am joined as always by Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor's back after his 1 week absence.
I am. I've returned.
Yeah, he had to take a week off to recuperate. He found out he was going to have to read some Red Hood in the coming weeks, and he had to just take a week off to be in bed, have some soup.
No, Connor, did you get the Trinity annual physically, or did you read it on a tablet?
I'd read on my tablet.
Wait, do you have to get a tablet now? That's a tease.
It may need some little repairs.
Gotcha.
He's going to pick it up, and it's going to be in like 3 pieces, perfectly split into a trinity of parts. So yeah, we talk about DC Comics, and it is a week 5, and week 5s, of course, are quieter weeks for books because obviously comics schedule for 4 weeks a month, but every so often we have a 5th Wednesday, and that usually means a couple of annuals, but otherwise it's quieter. And because of that, on top of the regular books that we're doing this week, which include the Teen Titans annual, the Lazarus Contract Special #1, the Flash #23, we also have Wonder Woman annual #1 and the Trinity annual #1. So on top of those, we're also starting a new thing on week 5s. We used to have random discussions about things and play games. Now, of course, we have a vote on Patreon to read a trade paperback or a story arc from the past. And this month, the winner of that vote was the Judas Contract, which is a Teen Titans story arc, which consists of 4 issues from the 80s. Pretty big seminal story that influenced a lot of stuff. You know, Dick Grayson became Nightwing. We got the backstory of Deathstroke, who at the time was referred to as the Terminator more often than not. Which
it was weird reading.
It was
1984,
yeah.
right?
Obviously, that's why they eventually changed it. They said, "No, just stick to Deathstroke," because everyone thinks of something else.
Yeah.
But so we're going to talk about that. That's going to come up at the end of the show. We all read it. I think we all read it for the first time. None of us had read it before, had we?
Yeah, and it was nothing that I thought it was, because I came up reading Wizard. I don't know if you guys read Wizard.
Nah.
And every so often, they do like these lists of like shocking, things that happen in comics, or character turns you didn't see coming. In just about every single one of these lists, this story was mentioned. So I had a completely different how it went down in my brain. So reading through it for the first time.
What's funny is me and Connor reviewed the animated movie they based on this a few months ago. And it was kind of funny reading it and like seeing, what they'd taken from the overall plot's the same, but they obviously swapped some things out. Cyborg's not in the movie, but he's in this. But he doesn't really. He's just kind of there in this. He's not got like a. But it was just.
That's his character in a nutshell. He's just kind of there.
He's the telephone pole. But not in this. He's not a telephone pole in this. In this, he's a.
He's a bench presser.
He's a bench presser. Yeah.
One note.
Yeah. Oh dear. So yeah, it's coming up, and let's not waste all the conversation before we even talk about the other books. So that's what's coming up. Did we have a nice week? I will say my week was a little bit better because the heat wave that was hitting last week finally subsided, it was nice and cool, relatively speaking, this week. I was, a bit of rain, nice. There was thunder earlier. It was great.
See, I'm jealous because I had a couple of days of cooler, but then it's been boiling again, and I mean, look at me. I'm a pale ginger. I burn easy. I've been scared to go outside.
We're having a cold snap here.
I see what you did there.
But no joke. It's not even 90 degrees yet, so that's good. It's.
That's we've had a quieter TV schedule actually this past week. All the CW shows finished, so we've been a little bit quiet in that sense, giving us some time for movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then we had like the surprise Better Call Saul not being on, so that lightened it up even more.
Day off, yeah. It was.
We actually had a night off for once.
Yeah, because we usually do that earlier on in the Tuesday, and I had a funeral to go to, so we had to push it, and then I came home and found out that it wasn't even on. Oh, great, night off.
Wait, what wasn't on?
Better Call Saul. It was off for Memorial Day.
Gotcha. I gotta get caught up on that.
Oh, it's really good as well. You should.
No, of course it is.
Yeah, Vince Gilligan doing his thing. But no, so let's talk about comics and stuff. That's what we're here for. So, so DC Comics. Oh, actually, before we move on, the Wonder Woman movie did come out. I feel like it's weird not to mention this at the start of the show. Big thing, yeah. our review of it is getting done tomorrow. It's going to go up tomorrow. It'll be on YouTube, 1.21 gigawatts. We're also going to have an audio version, which will go on the Comics from the Multiverse podcast feed for anyone who wants to listen to an audio of it. But we're not going to talk about it on this. We're just going to... it's coming. You can get that tomorrow. It'll likely be a long discussion. It's coming tomorrow, so look forward to it. But yeah,
I will say this: it was a movie.
That is correct. It was indeed a motion picture.
Out of all the DC cinematic movies I've seen, it was one of them.
I told Matt not to give anything away, and he's overdoing it a little bit. All right, comics. Starting with Teen Titans Annual, the Lazarus Contract Special, Issue 1. I really hate that title. Why didn't you just call it Teen Titans Annual number 1?
I mean, you say that, but there isn't even... The word annual isn't even on the cover. It's just Teen Titans Special, the Lazarus Contract.
Just call it the annual number 1 and say it's part 4 of the thing. God damn it.
Yeah, we're calling it the annual, but they're not.
It was originally.
I think it was originally, yeah.
Yeah. It's not in the cover, admittedly, that is correct. Dan Abnett, Benjamin Percy, Christopher Priest, all involved in writing, although I believe Priest was the one who actually wrote the script, but they were all involved in the plotting.
Yeah, you can tell it's Priest's script instantly.
This is almost a Deathstroke annual.
Yeah, and
it might as well be.
Paul Pelletier on the art. So I'm going to be blunt. This was kind of rough, not that great.
Yeah, I'll agree.
I like what it did in terms of where it left us going forward. But I think the issue, and to an extent the story as a whole, has kind of been a nothing thing. Like, it's just been... As an event in terms of, this is where it leaves us, this is where we go forward from here, I think it's been really interesting in what it's done. But as a story in itself, I didn't need it.
Honestly, for me, arguably this is the whole thing so far, but I think most of the complaints I'm going to have kind of came to a head because this was the final part that sort of quote unquote brought everything together, except I don't really think all the parts were already there to bring together. And it just kind of
most of the story kind of happens in this issue.
It does, and it just kind of, and some of the concepts they bring up just feel like they come out of nowhere, and I can't for the life of me understand why when they resuscitate original Wally, like in the past, why new Wally gets his powers back at that moment. I have no idea.
Timey-wimey.
But why are they even related? The new Wally's powers get taken from Slade, which already
Mm-hmm.
happened. He goes back in time. Damien and the team go back in time. Damien does a thing to Wally
I really would have liked Wally not having powers now because of Damien. It really would build, because we have Kid Wally, and we have Barry, and it would have been interesting to see Wally West be able to live a normal life for the first time in forever.
I mean, I do think kind of that's ultimately what we have. He has the powers still, but he can't really use them.
Yeah,
no, but that's like Cable. Like that sucks.
Well, let's explain what it is then for people who haven't read it. It's basically Wally has a pacemaker now. Because of what Damien did in the past to his heart, he had to get a pacemaker installed. So now if he uses his powers too much, it will kill him.
Yeah, so it's very much a case of, is this situation, do I need to use my powers here?
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
Honestly, I'm not that bothered with where... So I know some people aren't that pleased with it. I'm not that fussed about where it leaves them up, because it gives them something interesting. I know it's not going to last, but they're going to fix it eventually.
Sure, of course. That's comics, isn't it?
Yeah. And for a while, it gives him a new status quo. It gives him sort of a new penalty to his powers. It makes him a little bit neutered, and gives him a new obstacle to overcome.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when does he pick and choose to use them. What does he judge as, no, this is a must use my powers situation?
My problem more with it is it just kind of feels rushed how it happens, and then it felt even more rushed when we got these like 3 epilogues at the end, kind of like setting up all these things, and it was like, this really needed another couple of issues. It needed to be more fleshed out. I feel like some of the ideas just kind of get thrown at the wall in this last issue, and because of it, like the whole thing with all the Teen Titans like get into Wally's head to give him the strength to return from the Speed Force kind of thing. Like all that just gets thrown out there all of a sudden. I'm like, okay, I guess that's a thing.
Yeah.
Nothing felt like it was. I wanted it to feel grounded. And when I say grounded, I don't mean grounded in real life, because we're talking about comic books and Speed Forces and things. But it should feel grounded in the sense that the story has laid the groundwork for what's going to happen. And I never felt like it did. It felt like it was just like, oh, Deus Ex Machina here, Deus Ex Machina there.
No, and that's the thing. As much as we're criticizing this issue, it's a fault of this issue because it wasn't anywhere else in the story. Yeah.
It kind of retroactively makes you look at the whole 4-part thing and go, they didn't set this up properly throughout. So when I talk,
they had an easy out for that with Omen because they've teased the relationship with those two, and if anybody could make a connection through Raven, right, to Wally, and plus he had said they were all his lightning rods, right, at the end of the Kadabra arc.
Titans. That's right.
You know, so right there, you don't need everybody. He could have used Omen and Raven, and we wouldn't have to get this convoluted, you know, everyone's kind of riding around.
It was just kind of weird. It was one of these things. It's one of the things that kind of bugs me about some of Grant Morrison stuff sometimes, where he'll throw out these weird big ideas, and they'll just come out of nowhere, and you'll just sort of expect you to accept them. And arguably, it
really felt like we want to go, teamwork. That's how you win. But they didn't really think about how they're going to do it.
And it felt kind of hodgepodged for me. And again, the styles of like Priest writing a Deathstroke issue mixed in with the other stuff, kind of like that last issue, I felt jarring to me.
Actually, that part worked fine for me. When I opened it up and you get the Priest Deathstroke caption boxes of the setting at the time, I was like, oh, okay, this is a Priest issue. And once I got into that in terms of the dialogue of that, I was down for that.
I mean, on its own, it's fine, but then it jumped to a Teen Titans kind of issue with the team members and all that kind of stuff. Like, it was kind of jarring to me because I said this about the last issue as well. It kind of flipping between them felt kind of weird to me.
Right. Okay.
I felt like it didn't jive.
I don't think I had that problem. For me, it was more, you know, the idea. I think it's interesting to me to see these other sets of characters in the style of this other book. So to me, that wasn't the problem.
Okay. Of course, Damien's a little shit in this one, and for the most part, I was okay with how he acted.
Yeah, it's on point for Damien.
So yes, I've noticed some folk aren't think he goes a bit too far, and admittedly, maybe the whole thing with Wally is a bit of a step over the line.
Honestly, I think that stuff is okay for me. I get Damien just going, no, this is what needs to be done. But the one that was a little bit too far for me was when he just forgot Aqualad.
Yeah, that was a bit weird. But here's the reason why the thing with Wally doesn't work for me. It's not so much that he does it to Wally. If that's what's going to solve the problem, I buy that he does it. My problem is that I don't understand how it solves the problem.
Oh yeah, that's a different concern altogether.
Yeah, I don't get why that works. Like, why does this Wally not having his powers have anything to do with new Wally eventually one day getting his powers? They're completely unrelated.
Unless there's something we don't know yet.
Sure, but in that case, it's just kind of... It's its own problem, yeah.
That's it. I have a problem with it from a general story perspective like that, but from Damien's motivations, I have no problem with that.
Probably my favourite panel of the whole issue is actually when they go back in time and they meet the younger Titans, and Damien just walks up and goes, "Hey, yes, that's all. Yeah, hello. Sure, we'll help." Like, just his we're here to save the day. Like, that made me chuckle, but.
Yeah, it's the way he pushed his dick out of the way as well. It's like, no, I've got this.
Yeah.
Also, when he taps Raven on the head and goes, "There."
Yeah, honestly, Damien might be the best part of this issue.
Yeah,
I agree that he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get what are people actually complain about. They're saying, "Oh, he's a bit of a dick." It's like, well, yeah.
I think the general complaint that I've seen is that he's softened a bit more since his earlier days, and he's maybe being too dickish in this one compared to what he's been recently.
Yeah, but they set the stakes that if Deathstroke is allowed to keep the Speed Force powers, it's basically the end of the world.
Yeah,
because it's the world's best killer with super speed. Like,
he's under pressure. He's like, no, this is his first big moment as a team leader, and he's overdoing it
by his big brother, and he's gonna act out.
Yeah,
anyone that's the older sibling knows that when you get your younger sibling around their group of their friends, they don't act the same.
No, they don't.
Right? They have to try to play up.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So that's how I read Damien. And even though that we just got a really good story of him kind of softening in Nightwing, That was really only between him and Nightwing.
Yeah, it's not when he's around all his own friends.
Yeah,
He's supposed to be the
Exactly.
leader to them, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's fine. I think part of the problem, though, again, is just that everything's so kind of rushed that it does kind of feel like it comes out of nowhere. You don't really, it doesn't really feel like the stakes get set high enough before he does it to justify the fact that he makes that choice.
Yeah, that's a definite fair
Yeah.
complaint.
That's
It
the
feels
story in a
like that's the
nutshell.
point.
Is that
Yeah.
everything is kind of rushed, and
Because it's the same at the
they
end.
pull
When Deathstroke
threads.
says he quits at the end, right, and he walks, I quit being Deathstroke, and he walks away. I'm like, okay, I knew it was kind of going that route because we knew it was kind of coming next.
Yeah.
But I'm like, and okay, you've said that he was in the Speed Force, he saw so much that it's made him like turn over. And I'm like, but that was like a page where you just told me, he's in the Speed Force and he's seeing like all of reality, and that makes him decide.
That's the thing. I think this issue is, in a way, my favorite of the story because it does all the story beats. So I get what the story is, and the thing with Wally aside being confusing, I like most of the ideas. My problem then becomes with the other 3 issues. Going, why didn't that lead to this properly? What were they doing, wasting time?
Yeah, I think the crossover as a whole just feels kind of mishmangled in that sense. It doesn't feel like it was paced out properly. It feels like some of the wrong things got time to breathe. If anything got time to breathe, which honestly is debatable. And honestly, the idea that Slade sees all of reality and then that makes him decide not to be Deathstroke, that's actually not a bad idea. I kind of agree that the core idea there's fine, but I don't buy it because it's like a page of just saying, he's seen everything in the Speed Force.
I agree. My one saving grace for that is Priest's going to cover that in his own next issue,
with a bit
I
of luck,
assume,
sure. But
and
honestly,
I'll enjoy it there.
I actually feel like a whole issue could have been inside the Speed Force with Slade, like witnessing things. Like what does he see? What is the journey in there?
It would have been cool to see all the stuff that led to this, because this again, the story came from out of nowhere. Like we ended Deathstroke with that wedding that we never got to see what had happened.
I'm still annoyed about that.
We know that Rose is laid up in a hospital with Wintergreen, and
it
would have been cool to see that in the Speed Force he sees all the stuff concurrently, and we saw what led to this and led to him thinking that saving Grant would fix this all. And we still haven't got that.
It's worth mentioning. Priest on his website did speak about. I didn't read it too in-depthly, but apparently the original plan for this story wasn't a crossover. It was going to be something that was just in his book at some point, and it was presumably not going to play out the way it did, and it was sort of a late change that all of a sudden it's going to be a crossover. So that could account for a lot of the weird mishmash feeling of things and why things aren't quite adding
and why
up.
most of it's played out in his issues at the end here.
Yeah, probably, which is a shame. And this is maybe the first example in Rebirth where it feels like the crossover felt kind of forced, as opposed to Night of the Monster Men, which was enjoyable, and then you had the had the Button, which was really good. That just finished, and it feels like most stuff has became from the right place. Whereas this one, it's like, oh no, let's have something for May that's got a crossover.
Well, yeah, let's play on the Deathstroke Titans relationship, and so we'll tie in.
Which could have worked, but
it just never capitalized on it, and that's it. Like I said, this as an event in terms of what this does going forward, where for all the individual books, what their story is next. I'm like, I like what this has done, but as a story reading it, I kind of wish I hadn't almost.
Yeah, it sets up interesting things going forward, but it doesn't.
It doesn't justify its own existence other than to do these things for what's next elsewhere.
Nah, so obviously new Wally gets fired from the Teen Titans. We find out about original Wally's pacemaker, which sets up plots for those 2 books as well, of course. That's the epilogues. Do you want to mention Priest's other post that he made, counteracting some of the criticism? Which is really funny, because he wrote this post on his website about seeing negativity about the issue across the internet. And a lot of the complaints are weird, because a lot of them are talking about how what he's done to Damien and Wally and how they feel. The pacemaker thing, and like it's the funny thing is I actually think this is a really weak issue and a really weak crossover, but it's not because of the complaints that he's addressing in this post, which I find really amusing.
Yeah,
go ahead, Connor.
I was just going to say you're right. Like he's right to defend these particular things that he's attacking. I think it's notable that he's not defending the overall quality and saying, no, this is a fantastic story. He's defending specifically the character decisions, which we're also defending as well to some degree.
To an extent, some again feels rushed and whatnot. I agree with some of his points. He talks about how like not every writer can go back and read 100 issues, and the characters have to have new obstacles and things. They have to be able to change and progress.
I will
and stuff.
say on the whole thing about the can't read 100 issues stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the editors should be saying. This is how they need to act now. They should be the one, the editors on the line for that.
Oh,
for me.
of course. That said, though, I don't necessarily agree. I think there's some points he makes in the post that I don't necessarily entirely agree with either. And I'm not just talking about the paragraph where he talks about how he hates Dick Grayson.
But again, he starts out by saying this is his opinion and it's not right or wrong. And
clearly after that paragraph, I'm like, okay, never give him Nightwing because I don't want him anywhere near it.
But you get the idea that he wouldn't take Nightwing because, like he says, like it's just he finds him boring. But he does say that's just him.
Yeah, but versus other creators that would use that opportunity as a chance to ruin certain characters, Nightwing comes off pretty well throughout any of Priest's stuff.
I mean, he's mostly just kind of.
You know?
It's kind of what he says he is. He's just a sort of the generic leader dude in this. He doesn't really have much going for him.
I think he avoids doing too much with him out of fear of accidentally ruining him for someone else. It's like he goes, I don't really get this character. This isn't for me. I don't understand it, but clearly he doesn't want to piss too many people off and go, I'm going to do something drastic. So he kind of just has him do very much by the numbers, just do his bit, and that's it.
Yeah, that's fine.
That said, I do think the quality of the crossover is actually really weak, especially now that we've finished it and I've seen what the end game was, what they've devoted time to, things just coming out of nowhere. It felt really haphazard, and by the end of it, I was just kind of like, okay, I hope the next things are good because that kind of sucked.
No, I agree, but it's why I do agree with his post. He doesn't defend going, this was a great story.
There was a little bit at some point, I think, where he kind of...
I think the only thing he says is saying that there wasn't a single good page in the entire crossover is just silly, or something like that.
Yeah, which, I mean, to be fair, that is a bit silly, but...
This was refreshing coming from him, is that he kind of... Not that he was mature, because I've seen other comic creatives, like, when addressed with this type of criticism, just snap and act like complete jerks. And here, he was kind of like, well, look, guys, this was my story. If you don't like it, I'm sorry.
That's the funny thing, though. It kind of sounds like they've been forced out of the crossover. It no longer was exactly his story, though, which is kind of the weird thing. He's been put in this really weird position. And to be fair, he's been kind of a champ and just kind of taking it and defending it. I mean, you could debate, like, would it have been wiser for him to just not address it, like, just let it be?
Maybe, but I feel it's a respectful enough post. He's not insulting anyone. He's going, look, I get you. He opens it and saying, I've heard you. Like, I was wrong on some of these things, perhaps.
Honestly, reading this crossover and then reading his post, honestly, it does make me think, you know what, they really shouldn't give Priest events and crossovers and things like that where he's dealing with all these other characters. I feel like Priest seems to work better when he's got one either focused character or set of characters that he works with and keep it contained.
He knows his story and he knows what he's doing with that. And obviously, we've been enjoying Deathstroke a lot, and he clearly has it plotted out. Very, very tightly.
Clearly, shared universe shenanigans aren't really his. I mean, obviously, he's had some elements in his book. What's his face? Raptor showed up and things like that. But those were things he'd planned well in advance, and it's maybe he's taking characters that he knows he likes and he knows that he understands and that kind of idea. But like maybe forcing him into events and crossovers and things like that probably aren't in everyone's best interest. Given
I think
how
that's
this has
fair
turned
enough.
out.
I think maybe if he's aware of that limitation, maybe now editorial will be a bit more aware of that, and we just won't get this as a problem.
I mean, to be fair, if the one thing we've said about DC since Rebirth started is they seem to have been learning from their mistakes, and maybe this is sure. There's going to be mistakes. They're not going to be knocking things out perfectly forever. Like it's just not going to happen.
And when it's all said and done, it was only 4 issues, and it took a month. It wasn't 4 months of it.
Oh, that's true. We're past it.
And like I said, this was a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake that they've made before recently. So they can learn from this now. I mean, if they make this mistake again in 3 months, whatever, then it'll be a problem.
But it doesn't seem like it's because the things we know are coming. We'll get Metal, which is very much Snyder and Capullo doing their thing. I mean, like it or not, it'll be their thing, and they've got it planned. Doomsday Clock, I have no worry about Jeff Johns bringing his A game for a DC event.
Wait,
So
you said Jeff Johns and Gary Frank? Oh, okay.
the only thing Matt likes more than Jessica Chastain is Jeff Johns and Gary Frank teaming up.
Together.
Oh
That's
dear.
true.
Have we done anything else anyone wants to say on Lazarus' contract?
No.
I thought the art was pretty good in that last issue.
Yeah, well, it's Paul Pelletier. It
Yeah.
really does.
I thought it was okay. I thought not so much the art. I think the maybe it was the inks for me where it felt a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I wasn't feeling the same depth to the images as I was used to.
I
with
do think the
Deathstroke.
inks were perhaps a little bit loose. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And say it was hilarious to go from the Paul Pelletier art to the Brett Booth art in the
At the end,
Titans
yeah.
I know.
The
epilogue.
Yeah.
It's like,
it was just like oof.
yeah.
It's really highlighting the step downs, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, because you have the Koi Fan one before Brett Booth as well.
Yeah.
It's like this is rough.
Yeah. Well, I like Koi Fam though. Koi Fam's really good.
Yeah. I mean, when you get to Booth.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. But probably like the Koi Fam pages the most out of the art because I really like his style.
Yeah, that's fair.
Alright, that'll take us on. So before we get to the other annuals, we will hit the Flash number 23, which was pushed back because the last issue was pushed back. So they put it on week 5, and this was a Flash Hal Jordan team up issue. It's also Barry's birthday. There's a surprise party. Hal shows up in shenanigans ensue, and I kind of like where this is going. Where this is kind of setting up and leading to.
Yeah.
Fantastic issue. I always forget with the, they were the brave and the bold kind of first, Barry and Hal, and then they were gone forever, and now it's fun to see them, because we didn't get too much of them in Johns' runs on things. He was focused elsewhere. Like, we did get Barry as a Blue Lantern at one point, but outside of that, they really didn't interact. So him showing up to Barry's birthday, with a present,
nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
yeah.
I
And
saw
it was a
people
present
on
that Barry had given him.
Yeah, I saw
That
people
was
on
funny.
Twitter this week saying, "Oh, we should get a Flash and Green Lantern permanent book," and I'm like, "Yeah, call it Brave and the Bold, sure, just give it, yeah, that's fine."
Yeah. I will say also just the opening page. I was like, oh, I'm gonna like this story.
Yeah, well, yeah,
This is going to be interesting.
Let's talk about the opening page because we start with a little teaser in the 25th century in the Flash Museum, and there's an unknown voice talking about Thawne and who he is in Reverse Flash. But then it gets really interesting at the bottom of the page because we see next to a Flash statue of Barry, there's a Reverse Flash statue, and it says that Eobard Thawne was a partner, an ally, and his best friend. What has he done to the timeline? What the hell has Thawne done? Because no.
Yeah.
But no, that did pique my interest. It was like, oh, this is interesting.
Yes.
And of course, we see Thawne's body, because it obviously passed, he died in the button. And we see this spark of Speed Force in his eye. And it's like, oh, right, okay, that didn't last long. He's coming back.
Well,
Yeah.
well, like he says, he's the one constant.
Yeah. So
If that's the case, is he unkillable now? Because if he looked up at the face of God, and the Speed Force, does what it does, how do you get rid of Thawne?
that's a good point. Well, because obviously Multiplex shows up, and that's what Barry and Hal go off to fight during the issue. That's kind of the main fun. But when he's at the party, Barry has this, because he's thinking about Iris, and should he tell Iris who he is? Right. New Wally's really pissed at him for everything. And we have this fantastic nightmare scene of Reverse Flash coming in and killing everyone that Barry cares about, killing Iris, killing New Wally, all the rest of it. And I love how red the pages are, and then you turn the page, and then Barry's standing in what looks like just this pool of blood with the dead bodies.
Yeah.
It's like super dark. I love it. The art's great here.
It's so horrific, and then it cuts back to normal in the panel next, and it's all the greens, and it's such a drastic change.
Yeah, it's a little mini golf course they're on. They're playing mini golf. I don't think that's important. I'm just pointing out that people play mini golf.
It wasn't important, no. But maybe Barry likes mini golf.
Maybe he does.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an eye.
Actually, who doesn't like mini golf?
Mini
You
golf's
can't
fun.
speed. You can't speed through mini golf because I've tried. You just can't. It is a game that tests my patience.
You can't.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not good at it. That's why.
Are you better or worse at regular golf?
I've never gone regular golfing because I grew up watching Happy Gilmore, and apparently that's not how you swing a golf club. So I was told never touch these again.
I I'm not gonna lie. After seeing that movie when I was a kid, I may or may not have tried to do the Happy Gilmore swing to see if it worked. The answer is it does not.
No,
it does not. Don't believe everything you see. So Iris is obviously feeling that he might be withholding something, and that's kind of setting up the themes of the issue. All this teasing, like, oh, what if Thawne did want to like do all this bad stuff? It's setting up that fear. Obviously, some of the pages of Barry and Hal like teaming up, that double page spread, like you see, like in the previous pages, both the rings. You know, the suit comes out the ring. Hal's getting his ring ready, and then that double page spread of the two of them in costume. Oh, it's glorious stuff. So
good, isn't it?
Yeah, as a long-time fan of these characters, it's just great stuff to see. So obviously they race off and they go and start to deal with everything. So, and obviously Multiplex gets really powerful, and there's like a swarm of them.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I love how insane Multiplex is, because this is a character that I haven't seen too much. Like, I remember him John's run, but he wasn't a major villain. He was someone Wally took out real quick. But like, him becoming a swarm of himself because this girl turned him down, or so he thinks in his head.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, dude's got problems. I love it.
Yeah, do you know the thing about Multiplexes? I'd just kind of forgotten it existed, and then he showed up in the show. And I'm like, oh yeah, he was a thing. Like, I'd forgotten about him. But that's just fun. Like, I feel like you could do a lot with Multiplex if you wanted to. It's a really fun power.
Well, that's what makes him a good Flash villain, is that for as fast as Barry can go, this guy just needs to make him multiples of himself. You know? So it works hand in hand real well.
Yeah. I like how the art's called Color of Fear, because obviously Reverse Flash is yellow, and it's not actually a Green Lantern story, but it works. Yeah, it just kind of ties into it nicely. So New Wally takes Iris home at the end, and he's basically about to tell her about his father/uncle, who's a Reverse Flash, because she didn't know about that. And I love how as they go in, and we get the reveal that Thawne's sitting in their house waiting for them, and he's like, "Oh please, there's only one Reverse Flash." It's a glorious cliffhanger. I love this issue. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting. I feel like Williamson has been slowly building to really hitting his stride as a Flash writer. Like, he's really starting to hit all the kind of stories we want. Like, we got a Rogue story, and that was fun, and now we're getting to like some proper Thawne stuff. It's like, it's great.
Well, and starting with the new villain, right, with Godspeed. Yeah. To the Rogues and all that. Like, he's slowly building up to the bigger threats.
You had the Godspeed costume in the museum on the first page. I mean, there's a lot of costumes.
Yeah, there's a lot.
You also had Nina's costume. The black hole one was there too.
Yeah.
Which is right, we've still got her at play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that Puppet Flash, it looks like Dr. Alchemy's there. And I only recognize that because of the show. Like, I feel like that's the only reason that one was there. So prominent.
Probably.
Gentleman Ghost.
Yeah, what's the bet we'll get a Thinker plot at some point in the near future?
Right.
It's that'll be one of those things that feels like it could be editorial mandated, but I'm sure even if it is, it'll still be a good story.
Yeah, I mean, he's got time.
Yeah.
I just noticed right next to the Reverse Flash costume, it's one of the lightning rods that was in the JSA story that brought Wally back. That also
on the left of it, you're right.
Interesting. Also, I want to point out about this last page when they go in the house and Thawne's sitting there. Again, it plays with the colours in the art. The house is very blue, and there's no real reason why it should be blue, but it accents his yellow very well.
It does.
It's like the room's very cold, and then he's this yellow, and obviously that's meant to be warm, but here it's signalling more danger because he's Thawne.
Yeah,
he's a villain. So no, I like it.
He's got that red outline too. Like he's.
The red lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just gives you this idea that he's entered a comfortable place. He's not meant to be here. This is a place of comfort and homeliness and stuff.
What kind of monster sits like that on a couch?
Someone who wants to show off their cock.
Yeah, basically.
That is basically going, hey, check out the bulge.
Check it. Check it. No cod piece needed.
Maybe she'll test it and try and kick him in a minute.
I'm really excited for this story. Just go like, how do we get to where that first page was, and how does Thawne take that? Like, is it something that he's chosen to make it like that, or is this an accidental byproduct.
Yeah, and then even like how do we factor in Hal being there to help fight Thawne? Like how does that work? Like him against an evil speedster? Because we had Batman versus Thawne in the Button, and that was like really exciting.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But you'd think that the Power Ring offers a little bit more defense against.
Yeah, you'd assume so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you would think that he could at least shield himself technically, and maybe Thawne will try and phase through it. And what sort of results does that bring? Because it's it's not a real thing. It's green power and energy.
All this also makes me really worried about Iris, because I just between Wally and Barry,
No, we're going to save Iris. Don't you worry, Matt.
fingers crossed, But I know the Flash history, so it's a little bit worrisome.
It's not about tragedy, Matt. Flash is not about tragedy.
I know.
All right, I guess we're done with the Flash.
We're all just too nervous there because Matt's just brought that up. It's like, just...
Sorry, guys.
It's making us uneasy. I know I don't like it. All right, let's move on. Oh, pardon me. Let's move on to the Wonder Woman annual #1. I'm not going to specify who's done what here because it's 4 separate stories. We'll just talk about those as we go through them. But obviously the first one is by Rucka and Nicholas Scott.
Yeah.
And this is a story of Batman and Superman meeting Wonder Woman for the first time. We actually see them reacting to her. But basically, it's after that mall scene that was in year 1 where she saved people. We see both Batman and Superman reacting. Clark's with Lois. Lois, who doesn't seem to know that he's Superman yet, which makes sense timeline-wise.
Yeah. Still early.
And Batman's with Bruce, and they're... so they both go and try and find her.
Batman's with Bruce.
Oh, sorry, Alfred. I meant to say Alfred. Batman's with Alfred.
I was going to say Batman is with Bruce because later on we find out.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll get there.
All right. So they both go and try and stake out where she is on this military base with Steve and all that. And she pops up behind them, and it's the whole thing's basically that they don't really trust her very much. Well, Batman especially, and she whips out the lasso and makes them hold it so they can understand her because she still can't speak English, but it also shows their true sort of intent, what's in their heart, as it were. And she basically is like, "Look, you can trust me," and that's kind of it. It's kind of the meeting, and probably the biggest laugh that I left out, I let out this week was when after the lasso, and Batman has to admit that he doesn't have anything to fear with her. After he lets go, he's like, "I hate magic."
Yep.
I mean, that was good. I think I was laughing more at the, when Clark shows up and the banter between him and Bruce there. It's like, yeah.
Right.
Mind if I keep you company? Yes. Well, I'll just stay here then. and then she's not from around here. Wow, you're good.
Yeah.
Detective. No, it was good. It was some sort of brotherly dynamic, where they're
I just like
teasing each other.
The way that Rucka's writing Superman is he's kind of, not that he's a dim bulb, but he's definitely putting on a persona for Batman. Yeah. And it plays with it so well when he introduces himself as Clark Kent, Kal-El, and then Batman's like, Batman, and he goes, seriously, that's your name?
To be fair here, right? Maybe Superman should think, I won't reveal my true identity. I've just met.
Lasso of truth, Pete.
He's not holding it yet.
On to the lasso of truth. So I just love the.
Has he? Oh, yeah.
That's the whole point of that. They're all holding it.
Oh, I can confirm. All right, no, I can confirm. Yes, they're holding the lasso. All right, fine.
Which is why it's funnier that he still just says Batman.
Okay, that's fair.
Because deep down, that's who he is, and that's where he goes. Shut up, the rope. It's translating. Like he doesn't want to talk about it. Like he kind of knows.
Yeah, it's kind of sad almost, isn't it?
A little, but
also I really like when
the smirk on Superman's face.
See when she asks, you've got nothing to fear, and Superman says no, and then he just looks over at Batman and is like, that's your cue.
No, and it goes right into his eyes. Yeah, I would love Rucka to do like a one-off Trinity story that has this tone to it.
It was killing me, like the whole thing with you can kill someone with rope, Clark. It's like, well, not quickly, so well, you probably could.
You probably can't, yeah.
Yeah.
But she also, I like that she calls the lasso, it's the perfect, because it also shows like her her language isn't quite there yet, and it's I just love her as Wonder Woman. You can't
so good.
can't get over it.
Yeah, and
then you introduce the Trinity, and it's even better.
Yeah, so the Batman at the end is basically gives this sort of final message saying, "Oh, we've seen what's in our art, and we've got a lot of catching up to do." And that's this pretty cool thing for him to say. You expect Superman to say that.
Yeah.
But Batman's the one who snaps it out. So.
And it shows how. Go ahead, Connor.
I was just gonna say, then you have the great shot of her flying again with the birds.
Yeah, the same pose. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just shows how each of them are unique for their role. As Wonder Woman is kind of the best of them. Whereas Bruce is that detective, and he's closed off and guarded.
He's the cynical
Superman's,
one.
Yeah, and Superman's almost the die-in-the-wool optimist because he doesn't know how else to be. Wonder Woman she is. She's not putting on an act. Like compared to these two, she is exactly who she says she is. She's Diana from the Scare.
I think it's the thing where with Clark and Bruce, they're both products of their upbringing in this world with no parents versus the good parents, whereas she was raised by a community, and it was so different that she is she on a completely different level to them, raised by parents or Alfred or whatever.
Obviously, the art is gorgeous, Nicholas Scott.
Oh yeah,
it's almost not even worth mentioning at this point.
No,
it is glorious. I actually really want her to do some Superman and Batman work now after seeing her.
Yeah,
draw those two.
Yeah. Her drawing Superman has made my entire week.
Of course it has.
And also some proper Batman ears as well. None of this nonsense that some of the artists do. Yeah.
I like how you can tell that it's however many years ago as well. Like Clark looks younger. I thought that was a really nice touch.
And Batman doesn't have his purple and yellow outline.
No.
Yeah.
So we know it's an older suit.
It's almost my favorite bat suit. That's the one that I like a whole lot. It's very reminiscent of the
that's fair.
animated series version.
Yeah. All right.
How nice is it that they gave it to Rucker though to do the meeting of the Trinity in this continuity? That's kind of like the last peace offering, so to speak. It's like, look,
I know he has other stuff to do, but he needs to come back to DC as soon as he's done doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
I concur.
Because I need him doing more.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, the second story in the annual is called "In the Defense of Truth and Justice." I actually didn't know what the title of the first one was. I didn't even check. It was the Rucker one. I didn't care.
And then there were three.
And then there were three.
So
this is "In the Defense of Truth and Justice." Vita Alea writing and Claire Rowe on art. I will say the art was really rough in this one.
But you're on record with Claire Rowe and rough art.
Yeah. It's just that shot. It wasn't so bad when it was just the soldiers talking at first, but then Wonder Woman lands and she looks like this muscly freak, and I'm
she's from Birds of Prey, right?
Well, originally, but it's been Rose Antonio who's been
fell off.
Right, but the start stuff was her, yeah.
Yeah.
This one definitely does CrossFit. Definitely.
I don't think Bel-Air's colors help though. I think they're really flat colors, and I don't think it works.
Well, it gives it this dark and dreary kind of tone, which I think is what they're going for.
Yeah, I just don't think it works with her art.
No, I like the colors, just not for this story per se. Like, I actually think these colors look really nice and moody for something else, but not so much this. So basically, this is the story of this country wants to execute King Shark.
Yeah, Markovia, which we should note for Judas contract later.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
good job,
Sarah Markov.
But yeah, so they're wanting to assassinate him. There's one person sticking up for him, but they're not having it. They're just like, no, judge, jury, executioner, kill him, do it now. And Wonder Woman shows up to sort of defend him because he's not guilty of this crime. I mean, he's guilty of a lot of crimes, but not this one.
Yeah, she's there for the truth. Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Pretty much. That's pretty much it. Big fight ensues, and she takes him to the sea at the end, and basically takes him to Aquaman. Like, he'll take care of you. He's a man of the ocean.
I actually like this. It's like, hey, look, you're not a human, so let's maybe not judge you by our rules, and let's give you to the the king of the seas and let him deal with you.
I liked the ending. I liked him kind of folding his arms and like sort of begrudgingly accepting what she's saying to him, and then the little thank you at the end. I liked what the plot was. It's just the art was kind of rough, so this was.
Yeah, definitely the weakest.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was kind of it. That was a decent little story though for what it was.
Yeah, I like the story, but the art kind of hampered the enjoyment for sure.
Next story was called the Curse and the Honor. Michael Moretti writing and Stephanie Hans on art. This one's basically a tale of sort of like honor. It's in the snow, and she's got this like sort of samurai master who's like someone who Steve knows. But it twist. They turn out to be like a. Well, I won't call.
He's cursed with a demon.
Oh yeah, I was tempted to say werewolf, but it's not. It's not actually a werewolf though. It's
no,
more
it's more of a. It's like demonic sort of thing.
It's a demonic hedgehog.
It's very shades of cheetah. I kept getting like.
I want to assume this is something from Japanese folklore, but I do not know enough about that to know what this is.
And I'm conflicted on the art with this one, because I actually love the snow, I love the red blood and stuff, and I love how it mixes. I really like the art in that sense. I do think Wonder Woman herself, though, the colours feel weird on her.
I don't agree with that.
No, I like it. It definitely looks more like a painting. Like this was done.
Well,
it is painted, I think. But it's very royal red rather than the bright American red.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it really works for me, especially with the whole thing is this themes of honor, and so that the kind of the royalness of the color really plays into that nicely for me.
Yeah. She's the sensei wants her to like protect the village, because if not, then monsters are going to go rampaging, and that's kind of it. And she fights it, and the art's gorgeous. I mean, this story is mainly in the art. If the art wasn't up to par here, it wouldn't be up to much. Because it is a very simple...
It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's all just in the execution.
Yeah, the art's what elevates it.
It'd make a really cool short. Like they were doing on Cartoon Network a while ago. They were doing like these superhero shorts.
Yeah.
This would have been a really cool one, just with the voiceover and their battle. Because it is all about he's the greatest warrior according to Steve Trevor, but he's deferring to Wonder Woman that no, Wonder Woman, you're actually the best warrior, and the whole reason she's there is to kill him because he's cursed, and if she doesn't want to, she wants to find another way. It's just because they're warriors doesn't mean they just kill.
But ultimately, it comes down to she has to, and that's part of what it is to be a warrior. She does what she has to, regardless of whether or not she wants to.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's otherwise very beautiful. I would love to see Stephanie Hans do like a horror comic or something now.
I can't wait for her issue on Batwoman.
Yeah.
We've got her doing that epilogue at the end of the arc, and I can't wait because
good eyes, Connor.
Yeah, no, it's really really pretty stuff.
I've been a fan of hers for a while, and everything that I've ever seen from her is just fantastic.
Like I say, the monster bleeding in the snow is really really pretty. Like. In a kind of grotesque way, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah. That panel, I think it's the page after that, where it's the bottom panel where it just says peace, and you've got the light around
sunrise.
The
woman. Yeah. No, it looks really nice. Artistic showcase is the third story, basically, and then the fourth one. Which is called The Last Kaiju, which is funny because the page before that I went, holy shit, is this a kaiju story? And then I flipped the page and went, oh, it's called The Last Kaiju. Excellent. It's Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing writing and David Lafayette on art. This is a story about a kaiju who looks like a kaiju from Pacific Rim. Like, it actually looks like one of them.
No, it looks like I can't remember all the names. Damn it.
The pointy-headed one.
Yeah, his name was like Steeljaw or something along those lines. Razor Jaw.
I don't think I ever knew their names, admittedly, but like,
I got very into it, Pete.
he's reading all the extra materials. Oh, here's the Pacific Rim Encyclopedia.
When you go hunting for Gypsy Danger and all you keep finding is this guy, you learn the name real quick.
So we have Wonder Woman sort of fighting him a little bit, but basically it ultimately becomes about her realising it's just a big monster who doesn't have a home and doesn't have a place to go. So she ends up protecting it from the army, like stops all the jets
from Argus.
Yeah, stops all the jet from hitting it, and then finds him a home, Dinosaur Island.
Yeah, and you get his origin, and he's he doesn't want to cause trouble, but everywhere he goes, people assume he wants trouble because he's a kaiju. And
it's funny actually because when she takes him to the island, and there's this big full page spread of him like sitting there, and he's just smelling like a baby. It's actually like a really weird panel because he has such a sort of like shark look to him throughout all the other like the rest of the issue, and then he's got this big smirk in his face at the end. It's just kind of funny. What do you think about the art?
It just shows her compassion. And the art wasn't the best, but it fit. Like it gave it a kind of manga feel.
It worked for the story.
She's got big fists and she's got this like ultra straight hair. It's very different, very stylized compared to some of the other stuff. But yeah, it worked well enough. This was just another fun little story of compassion. That's what you're right. That's exactly what this story was showing. Was her compassion. I feel like we've had similar stories with her in the past, but I'm not going to complain about another one.
Do you know what?
The one with the tiger.
Yeah, this whole annual reminds me of the Sensation Comics digital first one that they had, where it was just the short 10-page stories of just Wonder Woman doing a Wonder Woman thing. That's pretty much, other than the first story where that was tying into the run still. That's just
so the fact that Rucka now, I can cry about the run coming to an end. He's given me a whole new appreciation for Wonder Woman. I thought I had appreciated her after Azarello, but after that run was over, I kind of forgot. But with Rucka, it's made me go back, and I picked up his first, trades.
I think the difference is for Azarello's Wonder Woman was not the typical Wonder Woman. It was It was for his story for that mythology, and it was a fantastic version of Wonder Woman. But it definitely wasn't this. Where this Rucka's Wonder Woman definitely feels like if I go and look at another Wonder Woman story, most of them they're going to feel sort of this is her.
This is what this has made me want to go check out more stories.
It's also a Wonder Woman who's part of the universe, whereas Azrael's Wonder Woman felt very separated
on its own.
Yeah.
So, because it's always a character that a new run would come out, I would pick up like 2 issues in a row and be like, I'll read this in trade, and then never get to it. But now I feel like between the Rucker run that we've gotten, the one I still have to read, and then that special that we had with all those small stories, that was like this one.
75th anniversary.
The 75th,
yeah.
Between that and now this annual with all these little stories in it, I want to read more. And I really appreciate her now, and I feel like had we done the 52nd episode, she actually would have been represented on my top 10.
Which is funny, because that was only 2 weeks ago, Matt.
Yeah, I know, a lot changes in 2 weeks. Like, there's...
I will say this, there was a maybe it's still be on, actually. I don't know how long it's still running. I think it's run to the 6th or the 7th of the month, but there's a Wonder Woman sale on Comixology. And I picked up the first Rucka trade, which is like the first 14 issues of it. I picked up the first Perez trade, which was basically the post Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was like she rebooted kind of like Superman did, so it's the first chunk of that. There's other stuff in there as well, but that was the 2 stuff I picked up. I intend to read a bit more Wonder Woman going forward.
Yeah, it's also worth noting. I did see, as you get your adverts on Facebook as you scroll through, whatever, and the personalized one. I did get one that said it was part 1 of the Wonder Woman sale, so we may get another one next week as well.
I have no idea what will be in the part 2 though. I feel like all the trades are all in this one, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It could be random other stuff too. Just like team up stories and everything else.
I feel like if I split it in 2, it feels like they've put all the sort of the big stuff in the first part.
They front loaded it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means.
Did you guys read Morrison's Earth 1 Wonder Woman?
Not yet. I plan to though.
I recommend it for, again, where we talked about Azarella's version of Wonder Woman. Morrison's almost a meta story on
Wonder
right. Woman. Yeah, right, of course, but
I'm done with that. Honestly, I'll read it for Paquette's art.
Yeah, the art's really fantastic.
Yeah, honestly, I'll probably hold off on that for a while because I feel like I've had enough Wonder Woman origins recently. Between
Yeah.
a couple of different comics, between Legend of Wonder Woman, Year One, the movie, even, like, I feel like I don't need another origin for a while. I feel like I've had my fill.
No.
He says
Well,
when
that's
he's
what I mean,
about to
we're-
read the Perez Wonder Woman.
I never said I was going to read it soon. I never said I was going to read it soon. I said it's there to be read.
It is an origin, but also there's so much themes at play, and if you know the history of the creator, of the, it's just everything plays into a thing in the most Morrison way possible. So, but the only reason I brought it up because what Conrad said about Azzarello's being a version of Wonder Woman, but not the versus Rucka's, it just feels like.
This is Wonder Woman, yeah.
Yeah,
But then again, I feel that's Rucka because Batman felt like the Batman and well, not the goddamn Batman, just proper Batman. Same with the Superman.
Azzarello's Superman. That's
Right.
you, Matt. Azzarello's Wonder Woman and I assume Grant Morrison's Earth One. They feel like Elseworlds essentially, even though New 52 Wonder Woman wasn't an Elseworld, but it kind of felt like it.
Might as well have been, an extended Elseworlds.
So there you go. That's the Wonder Woman annual. So it was a pretty enjoyable thing. I think the thing with annuals, because of this collection of stories, and you don't necessarily feel like you're getting the next part of the main story. Sometimes they can feel a little bit like, oh yeah, that was fine, but it was kind of just filler because it's a fifth week and not like actual meat. I would say this one's worth reading. I think none of the stories were bad. The art was
3 out of 4 are pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fourth one has a decent idea. It's just the art's a bit rough, and because of that, it suffers. But not bad overall. That'll take us on to Trinity Annual #1. Rob Williams writing Guillem March on art. So this isn't actually standalone. This is following the main plot, not the current Manipul plot. This is following the plot that was set up in the Villains Trinity issue, which I think was #7. And it's going to be brought up again once Manipul's finished his current arc. It's actually going to be Rob Williams who comes back and continues the story that he's set up here that's followed on.
Yeah, obviously it was Bunn in the first
It was.
part.
But Bunn wrote the first part of it, but now it's going to be Rob Williams who seems to be taking the reins and going forward with it.
Yeah, and I have to say, I'm not sure if I'll be back after Manipul.
Disclaimer, I didn't read this one. I ran out of time. And then I had heard what because Connor had read it pretty early in the week. And he was kind of like, well, I might not want to continue. So I was like, I'll save it for last.
Honestly, I have reasons beyond that final page, which we'll get to. But there's a lot of this stuff just isn't working for me.
So, I think...
Come on, spoilers, Pete.
We'll start talking about the book once the book's talking about the spoilers for the whole issue are in play. But no, so this was basically Etrigan ends up. Remember the Pandora pits from that issue, the villain issue that we talked about. Etrigan ends up in there, and it separates Etrigan and what's his face, Blood. Yeah,
Jason Blood,
that's the name. It separates them into... But Etrigan becomes ultra powerful. He basically turns into a giant kaiju. He's got an army of demons, and the Trinity are like, oh crap, something's going on, and they show up and they fight the demons, and that all goes on, and then eventually Blood has to accept the fact that he needs to reunite with the demon, otherwise Apocalypse happens.
Yeah, all hell breaks loose, literally.
Yeah. So that's basically what the issue is. Honestly, I thought it was okay. Like, I mean, it kind of felt like a sort of forgettable action issue of Justice League, but it was nowhere near as like bad as say like any of the Justice League issues from like this current run.
No, definitely not. I kind of like the Etrigan stuff just because I like Etrigan, so that stuff's fun. I always like seeing how are they going to rhyme, how are they going to do it, and they actually fracture it a little bit in this one. They kind of cheat in a couple of places where they really fracture the sentence break, and I'm not entirely sure it counts. And I did like I really liked the scene where they're all out at dinner, basically, because it was like the start of Trinity, and it was just the three of them talking about why they do this. They gotta have the human connection, as they say. That stuff was really nice. Everything to do with the anything that wasn't that, just all the Pandora Pit stuff, all the villain Trinity stuff. I'm sick of it.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I just wasn't that interested in it either. It was kind of just...
Well, I thought it was pretty rough in that issue 7. I wasn't a big fan of there, but I thought maybe that was just Bunn. But no, I just does nothing for me. I really don't like it.
I don't think it's terrible as an idea. It's just so far it's not been that interesting. A lot of the issue is basically just the Trinity like fighting monsters, and that's kind of it. And the art's okay. It's not amazing, but it's not
Yeah,
terrible.
I'm not a fan of March. I'm really not.
I'm not a fan. I just don't think it's terrible.
I mean, I think it's
liked
pretty
him on
rough.
Sirens. I think Sirens' art was pretty good, but here it felt different because I did thumb through the issue. But
Yeah,
yeah.
it has some weird moments, obviously, but I don't think it's terrible. It's
I
serviceable.
do think there are some moments that I like, and then there's others where I think it's really quite ugly.
Yeah, because that whole thing where someone has to be sacrificed, like do the curse to reunite Etrigan with blood, and the Trinity basically say, "Oh, take us," but their united force kind of means that no one has to die, and they kind of survive, but they're willing to. They're basically, yeah, we'll take out all three of the Earth's greatest heroes and put the entire Earth at risk to solve this one thing. But that's just kind of who they are.
Yeah.
But the Pandora Pits move.
Whoa,
Mike. Jesus. So the Pandora Pits move, and we see Cersei and Ra's al Ghul just kind of, we need more backup and stuff, and then in walks the we'll call it the Misfit Trinity of Red Hood, Bizarro, and Artemis. Setting up the plot after Manipul's current arc is going to be a Trinity of Trinities arc.
Well, that's the thing. It's not, because we're going to have a quadrilogy of Trinities, because we're getting the Magic Trinity as well.
Oh, quite right, yeah.
Which is why.
But can the
technically,
can the villain
no.
trilogy?
Lex left this Trinity though,
Yeah,
so this isn't
exactly.
this isn't a Trinity anymore.
So that was a swerve. So the
Yeah,
villain
but-
trilogy looks like it's going to be Artemis, Bizarro, and your best boy.
Well,
Red Hood.
yeah, but Cersei is narrating and says a Trinity of Trinities, so she
Right.
is still referring to them as a Trinity.
Aye,
She's
she
not
is.
referring to the magic one.
She is, but she's not doing the solicits and writing the books.
Well, no, but in the dialogue here, she says a Trinity of Trinities. She is referring
Right.
to herself as
But then they have
their
to find
trilogy
someone to fill in for Lex then, because
I think, to be fair, obviously, Matt, you didn't read the issue. There's
No.
a lot of talk of, fate and destiny, and they're all intertwined, and she's kind of basically going, Lex will be back.
Yeah, well, I wasn't.
Like, we're all stuck together.
I wasn't feeling all that stuff. The talk about fate
Yeah.
and thing was just kind of making my eyes glaze over a little bit.
Exactly. So,
I just-
they're still going to be a Trinity. They still count.
when it comes down to villains, though, I don't know much about Cersei, Cersei. I know a lot about Roz and Lex, and I don't see Roz and Lex being on the same page for anything.
Do you know,
You
just once I would like Connor to dislike something and just be kind of pleasant about how he dislikes it. There's Connor has two settings when he doesn't like something. It's either outright hatred or I didn't care. I didn't care. I love Red Hood. I didn't care.
I think it's just these things, it gets on my nerves. It's not that. I mean, I can be pleasant about the March's art. It's like I disliked it, but I'm not mad about it. But this stuff annoys me, where it's like, just.
Do you know what I love?
bullshit.
I don't think I'll really want to read this once it goes to this stuff in Trinity either. And honestly, outside of the art, Trinity's not been amazing either anyway. So it's kind of like, depending on how I feel.
Yeah, that first
First
arc
issue was good.
Fantastic.
I
I
wasn't.
love the whole first arc.
I didn't love the whole first arc. I thought the whole Mercy stuff was just kind of, it was fine, but not great.
Yeah, but you're wrong. So.
But like I'm not really feeling where this is going either. So I'm kind of like, it's not terrible. It's just kind of like, it's just fine. It's just existing. It's inoffensive, but there it is.
I don't know. Red Hood seeping into other books is very offensive.
Well, see, that's the good thing, Connor, is you still get your fix.
Yeah, I do.
Because someone on Patreon has been delightful enough to submit to the Connor's Corner and selected you to continue Red Hood where you left off. So that's coming.
Yeah.
Best thing ever. Best news ever.
He's so excited, everybody.
Yes, look
So
at him.
excited.
Look at that little ginger face with the beady little eyes. They're lighting up with excitement. So that's Trinity. Trinity was kind of just a sort of typical mediocre superhero comic. It's basically had sum up.
Yeah, basically, Matt, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
I would sum up.
I did thumb through and I saw the gigantic Etrigan. I was like, maybe I'll read this when I'm done. But then hearing you guys say how...
Yeah, I had a few little ideas that were kind of, that's kind of fun or whatever, but it was mostly just kind of forgettable, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So, no, there you go, that's Trinity. Which is actually the end of this week's books. Shall we do our end of week picks and stuff before we go into Judas contract? Wrap up the week as it is. All right, so I guess that. Oh, I suppose before we do ours, I will tell you the patrons' picks for last week.
No, there you go.
We'll do that because obviously on Patreon, if you just submit $1, you get access to weekly polls, which basically is like you get to pick your best book of the week and your best art of the week and so on. And yeah, so we have winners and stuff. So the winner of best book of the week, if I can read that colour, I'm not sure if I can. See, I've got a funny colour thing on because it's too bright. If I don't, I'm going to have to. There we go. The winner of last week's vote was Wonder Woman number 23. That one, best book of the week, which is what we picked as well.
Yeah.
Although Connor never got around.
I haven't read all of them yet.
He's not read it yet. Okay, fair enough.
I've read Wonder Woman. I haven't read most of the other ones.
But I assume you liked it.
I did. I made a point of reading Wonder Woman first because it's like, okay, with the annual, I might have to have read it. Turns out I didn't, but
that's fair. Best art also went to Wonder Woman, which I don't think. Did we pick Wonder Woman? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah, we can never remember when we get to the new week of what we picked last week. And then best cover went to Batgirl from the patrons.
I'd probably agree with that one.
Yeah, sure, I can't remember what I picked either.
Well, yeah, I can judge that one. I've seen all the covers.
Well, that was one that was in my contention. I had a few picks that I was going to pick, although nothing like stood out as amazing to me. Where I was like, I have to pick that. It was kind of a weird week in that sense. But yeah, so that was the picks from last week. So what are we picking this week though? Best panel of the week. What was the panel? Easy for me. I'm going to go with a double page spread from The Flash with Green Lantern and The Flash both in costume. It was either going to be that or the last page, but I went with that.
Yeah.
That's my pick.
That's fair.
Connor?
I think I'm going to go with from the Wonder Woman annual. I'm going to go from the Stephanie Hand story. Yeah. I'll go with the panel where, when she's fighting the demon bit and she says, I don't want to hurt you, but I will. And, it's the face of determination, but there's regret in it.
I like how Connor picked that as if he was at a buffet. And he's like, oh, what'll I have? Or, I'll have something in the meat section.
I was
have
torn
something
between picking one from the Nicholas Scott story and picking one from the Stephanie Hand story. It was a tough choice.
So mine are on the same. Yeah, I have the same problem. And as much as I want to pick the Nicholas Scott, you see all three of them together. At the end of the Han story where it's just peace, the light coming over and she's sitting over the dead body. If that was a painting, I'd be hanging here.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
No, it's great. No, can't argue. Best cover of the week. Yeah, Wonder Woman annual.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy pick this week. I think.
Yeah,
I think Flash would have had a chance had it not been a Nicholas Scott cover, but otherwise,
yeah, it was a Nicholas Scott cover with the Trinity on.
Yeah, wasn't a whole lot to pick there. All right, so that gets it from all of us. Best art of the week, and I guess we'll count these stories in the Wonder Woman annual as separate entities for the sake of this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going Nicole Scott and then there were three.
He was just dreaming over apparently. These on there.
Yeah, sorry.
Go with Nicholas Scott.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Stephanie Hands.
It is between those two. I think I'm going to go with Nicholas Scott overall. I love the hand stuff. I just think Wonder Woman herself,
me too.
with the hair and the colour, was a little bit weird, I guess. But the actual action and the environments and all that, the colours were all great. Otherwise, though.
Yeah, I can't argue with Scott because obviously it is clearly between those two. It's just basically toss a coin and whichever one.
Yeah, you want to fight us because you love arguing, but no, you can't do it. You can't justify it. All right, so top 4 of the week, because we have 4 books. You know what? I'm going to say top 3. We can jettison. Do you know what the thing is?
Matt still only has 3.
I really only want to give it to 2. I feel like 2 of them don't belong on a top 5, which is really annoying.
That's Wonder Woman Manual and Flash. That's all I can rank.
Really, yeah. I mean,
I mean, if
so-
I could do a top 5 if I count the Wonder Woman annual stories as their own thing.
Separates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
You could do that.
you know,
Um,
but yeah.
it's a really weird
I
week
mean-
because, like, the thing is, like, okay, if you count the annual as a whole, like, is it fair to compare that and Flash together when Flash is like a regular
can't.
issue of the main book? And then at
Yeah.
that point, it's like, well, do we really count this week as having like a uniform pick, a unanimous pick? Because really,
It seems unfair,
it
doesn't it?
does seem unfair because
Yep.
there was no competition almost. It's just between two books.
I mean, first off, do we have a unanimous pick between those two books? Because that might not be a concern.
It might not be, but if it is, I feel like it's less fair. It'd be like saying the Universe Rebirth one shot was the unanimous pick. 'Cause, like, of course it was. There was no other books that week.
Yeah.
So just pick your
So-
favourite. What's your favourite story of the week? And you can separate the annual stories up if you want
Yeah.
for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Are you picking Flash? Are you picking the Hans story? Or are you picking the Ruckus Scott story? Basically, is kind of what I'm asking you.
Yeah. Well, I'll go with the Ruckus Scott story just to keep things in line. So I tend to pick that one over, but it does.
That's fair.
It was a nice read. It felt good to read that.
It made me feel warm inside.
Yes.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like it. What do you think?
I'd probably go with that as well. I think I'd have the Flash and then the Hand story.
Yeah, I think I'm going to
So-
pick the Flash as my pick, mainly because
Yeah.
because it is teasing like a future thing, like everything it sets up
Oh, yeah.
and everything it is doing for like the ongoing story as a whole. I think I appreciate just a little bit more. That as much as I loved the Ruckus Scott like meeting, it was very much like a little short of its own thing.
Yeah.
So I'll go with Flash, but I mean,
I assume you had Teen Titans below Trinity.
I guess it's kind of weird because I feel like Trinity's more of a forgetful thing, and Teen Titans is not very good. But I at least like what Teen Titans Annual sets up for other things.
Yeah, Teen Titans fails because of it's so much of it is just it's forced to do that as an issue because it wasn't anywhere else in a story. So I don't know how much of it I'd blame on that issue versus the story as a whole for structuring it that way.
Which is why I'm not going to even attempt to rank them. It's just so week 5, special circumstances. It's just not enough books to do a top 5. So that's where I'm landing on that. All right, so that's the weekly picks, which leads us on to our week 5 bonus, which of course, as we mentioned at the start, was a Patreon vote, and the $5 tier you get to vote on which trade or story arc we're going to cover in a week 5. Of course, the winner was Teen Titans: The Judas Contract, which is the famous Teen Titans story. It's 4 issues. Issue 42 to 44 of Tales of the Teen Titans plus the annual number 3.
Yes.
If I recall the
All
numbers
right.
correctly. Man, look at me go! Look at me go! I'm excited about that. So yeah,
Guys, don't be that impressed. He has it open in front of him.
I do not.
No, he doesn't.
Blank
Oh,
screen.
it's blank screen.
So suck it hard, man.
Guys, he can't show us the computer screen. Just keep that in mind.
I'll pick up the camera. I will turn it around and I will show you what I'm looking at.
I really don't say this because I'm getting reaction out of Connor. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep going. No, blame
right.
Connor too.
Obviously, Marv, Wolfman, and George Perez at the helm of this, and this, of course, is a very old school comic. It's from the 80s, which means that it is a longer read. It's a tougher read. There's a lot more speech bubbles, a lot more narration that feels kind of
A lot
redundant.
of Deathstroke yelling blast.
There's also
Yeah.
there's also a lot of Deathstroke saying calling Dick Grayson kid, which was every time I heard it, I thought of the voice from the show because he kept because he calls Oliver kid all the time in that.
Would you think that's on purpose now, knowing what we know?
Yeah, probably. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like that's a callback to this.
But I do think they definitely overdid it.
Yeah, they overdid it. Yeah, absolutely.
Wait,
I
Arrow
remember-
overdid something? You kidding me?
In the last episode that he appeared in, it was going to be. I considered adding every time he said "kid," I would take a drink, and I was like, "Nah, that's going to kill me," and it would have killed me.
Yeah,
There's
he ended up saying it like
there's
8
your liver.
times. Yeah. Oh, right. So this is the famous story. Now, obviously, we're going to have spoilers for the story if you're trying to avoid them. But basically, this is the story of Terra, aka Tara, who is a sort of geomancing villain, aka she can manipulate earth and rock and cause earthquakes and control that kind of stuff. and she is a plant. She has went to Deathstroke to help him. He's taken over the contract that Hive had on the Teen Titans, which Grant had, his son, the Ravager. Yeah. But once Ravager died, he took over the contract, so he's working with Terra, who has infiltrated the Teen Titans and is helping him overcome them all. Basically by learning all their secret identities, where they all live, what their weaknesses might be, and he strikes and kidnaps them all, except Dick, who manages to get out. He manages to escape the thing, and he ends up teaming up with Jericho, who is Slade's other son, to go and rescue them in the final issue. The third issue is actually all of his wife, Adeline, basically telling the backstory of how he became Deathstroke. It's like the whole backstory issue. And that's kind of how it is. So issue 1 is kind of setting up Terra's place in the team. It's kind of the most laid back issue because it's like, oh, this is where everyone is. Donna's getting married, and like it's just kind of like where we are now. Issue 2 is the strike on Dick, and then him finding out that everyone else has already been taken. Issue 3 is the flashback. This is how Deathstroke became Deathstroke, and then issue 4 is the final, the big annual issue is the big conflict at the Hive base. So
I think it's interesting you said there that the first issue sets up Tara's place in the team, because obviously this is so far into a story already.
Oh sure, what I meant was
that's I think it's actually interesting how it does function as if you want to read just the story, you get the whole context. Yet
from
if
our
you've
perspective,
been reading it longer, like the whole thing, it's just driving it home. It's just a reminder.
Yeah, she's been there for a while actually in the book. Yeah, I actually do plan to go back and read the entire run of like the Wolfman Perez Teen Titans at some point. But on its own, it functions well enough because the first issue really sets the stage for where everything is right now.
I also really like, just as the title in the first issue where it says, Tales of the Teen Titans, and it says the Judas Contract, a 4-part novel.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting way of describing it.
Honestly, I think that's just because it's before the time we had trade paperbacks and graphic novels, and I feel like this is just a phrasing that...
Yeah, it was more the word that they use, novel, to describe it. Not a 4-part story, a 4-part novel. So it was an interesting phrasing.
Again, I think it's a time thing. I think it's just maybe the era. That was maybe how they thought of it.
Welcome to the 80s.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. So I mentioned earlier, being familiar with the story, I had always thought it was meant to be this big surprise that Tara turns on them. But reading the first issue here, when you see her palling around with Deathstroke, and she's suddenly not this cute and innocent girl, I felt it was supposed to be this big, huge shock.
I think it is if you've been reading the rest of the run, because I think this is maybe reveal of it.
No, because I went and I read, because me being a completionist, I needed to know everything going in. And they had seeded this throughout for like a year.
Well, that's good.
And this was just the reveal to the Teen Titans. But the readers knew the whole time. But I had always taken it as not even the readers knew. Like when she is seen with Deathstroke here for the first time, that was supposed to be the oh man moment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Right? That's how I read it in this.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how I like how in the first issue it keeps cutting to these panels of as if someone's watching. It's like it's like TV screens.
It's the photos, because obviously we have the stuff with Donna taking the pictures, and that's what those are. Like
it's Deathstroke taking photos.
It's like it's the snapshots.
Yeah,
and I think that really builds the momentum.
As we learn in the fourth issue too, that's from her. She has a contact lens camera, and that's how she's been taking all the pictures.
Yeah.
So it's what she's seeing at that moment. But yeah, outside of just being difficult to read, just because I'm not used to all the thought bubbles. And
it's old school. It takes like twice as long to read an issue of this compared to a new issue.
Yeah, the story though is still as
it's solid.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And everything's set up really well. Even Dick at his place, he's retired from being Robin. He doesn't know quite what he is yet. And it's not until he has to step up and like he's agreeing to go with Jericho to go and save the Titans that he's like, oh, I need something. And I like that even in that little moment where he's like, okay, I need a new identity. Like I need something. I broke away from being Robin because that was like connected to Batman, but Batman's part of my legacy. But so is Superman because I grew up admiring him, and that's obviously where Nightwing comes from. And like, obviously my parents, the Flying Graysons, and that's why he wears that outfit. And don't get me wrong, I hate
you
this.
You might think that Peter is summarizing, but no, this is actually from
that's all
the
like
page.
3 panels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like such a hard read for if you're used to Marvel comics, because they pack so much into every panel. It takes so long to read. So it's a bit of a chore in that sense, but I do think it holds up really well from a story perspective.
Oh yeah, because the plot turns and twists, and from an early time you get that Beast Boy who's going by Changeling, but it'll always be Beast Boy to me.
Oh yeah, to me as well.
You could tell that he really likes Tara, and of course he's being his annoying self. And I also got to give Ben Percy credit too, because the whole sex jokes that are sometimes problematic in Teen Titans, that's a Beast Boy go-to.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was pleasantly surprised, because obviously the dialogue's a little bit more old school and feels a little bit silly at times. Beast Boy legitimately made me laugh like 2 or 3 times in the first issue.
Well, that's because innuendos are timeless.
They are.
Exactly.
They really are.
So, those old standbys, but the emotion that he has by the end where he's like, oh no, Deathstroke got to her. I'm going to get through her.
Yeah, I can't believe it.
And she's still trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And, oh man, and then when he finds her body at the end of the rubble.
That was one of the things actually that was different for the movie to me, is like the new animated movie, is just how like she's even clearly more evil in this. Like she just wants them dead. Like even after Deathstroke doesn't want to do it anymore, like she's like, no, watch them all die. Like it's like, because I think in the animated movie it felt more like she was being strung along by Deathstroke and then he betrays her, whereas in this he has a reason to sort of change because he sees Joseph's there, he sees Jericho's there, and that makes him like, no, we have to abandon, like, no, give him my son.
This wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
That, and he's pretty pissed about his payment.
Oh yeah, because it turns out, oh no, his powers were the payment.
Also, Hive, that acronym, I didn't know that's what the acronym was.
Nor did I. It was just...
I pulled it up to read, but it's the Hierarchy of International Vengeance and Extermination.
Such a glorious acronym.
This is actually something they would never use in a modern comic. They actually call themselves terrorists. They say we've been alive for 5 years, and over the first couple of years we did this, and then we became like a proper world platform terrorist. I'm like, oh, that's a really weird thing to read in a comic. I feel like you'd never read that now. Well,
but it's kind of like in Die Hard that they at first called themselves terrorists, and it turns out no, they're just thieves masquerading as terrorists. So the 80s, what a weird time.
Do you know what I loved about Jericho's power, actually? Because to set up Jericho's power is that he can take control of other people, but he needs to make eye contact to do it. I love the build to him, like catching like eye lines, like in the last issue, especially with Slade. Like there's that moment where he's like, "Oh God, I just made his eye contact," and at that point he's got control of Slade, and it's like, "Oh shit, that's it." Because they're all captured. They've captured Dick. Everyone's screwed. Jericho's tied up. He catches his eye line. That's it. It's over. Because
his dad wants to see him. His dad recognizes him, and
and you have that great moment where Deathstroke's like, "I know what's happening, but I'm not going to resist. I'm going to let him do this because it kind of gives him an out. He can go, hey, I had no control over this. It keeps his bond intact, but he can still save his kid."
Yeah. So the first time I was introduced to Jericho was in John's Titans, through that first storyline when they went from Young Justice and the Titans to Teen Titans. So to see him take over his dad and see how that plays out there, again, just shows him, paying homage as much as possible to this era of comics. So much so that I was surprised that this was part of the story, because I had never realized Jericho was so integral to this. I thought this was just Tara and the Teen Titans. Jericho's kind of there, but not really.
Because he doesn't really show up until... I mean, he doesn't do anything until the final issue, really.
Yeah. But he is such a big part of it, and he is kind of the key thing that makes Deathstroke sort of like, oh wait, no, something has to change here. Like, this isn't important part of the plan. And then all the action in the final issue, was that great splash page when the Titans finally get free, and it's like Titans together and like they're all charging. It's like, because they've all been like held captive since issue 2, but I've not seen them in action the whole time. Obviously, we see some training stuff in the first issue, and obviously there's that whole thing throughout the whole book where Raven can sense that something's not quite right with Tara, and Tara doesn't like her very much because of it, and we finally get her like going head to head in the final issue. Like, it properly builds up some conflicts, and it feels like fulfilling when it gets to that final act. Like, to compare it to the Lazarus contract, everything's seeded, the groundwork is built up the entire time, and everything pays off.
And it's crazy because obviously this is so much better than that, but at the same time it's given me an extra level of respect for Priest Deathstroke in general, because it is such a family drama, and seeing this here where it is essentially like the back half of this is Deathstroke family drama.
From the first time we get to see Adeline Kane, she is trying to mess up Deathstroke as much as possible, and reading Priest Deathstroke, That is her sole job, is to mess up Deathstroke
Exactly.
as much as possible.
I feel like I have a better understanding of just the history of Deathstroke now because of this this arc. Just reading it and seeing where they first explained, oh, this is these kids and this is what happened, and just like I feel like I have a better understanding of the whole thing now.
Like we always used to poke fun at Deathstroke because of Arrow, and because of the whole Deadpool Deathstroke.
Shadow. Yeah,
but he really is a great character. Like between Priest and here, he's been a better character than he's not been. He's not nearly as overused as Deadpool is.
I think it's when they just play him as a straight up mercenary, give him a job to do, it's not interesting. But when you play the family drama and you get to Slade instead of Deathstroke, that's when it's
I do like
great.
when he's used as the distraction in Identity Crisis, but they pick up on that quick because he is the one that could engage the Justice League just long enough, to distract him. But yeah, you're right. When he is just the mercenary showing up to do a job. Like did you guys ever read Team 7 from New 52?
I did, yeah.
So he's part of a team with all these other military characters. Like Grifter from Wildcats is on there with him. Yeah. And he's not interesting at all. Here, where you get his entire story, he lied to get into the army early, and then he was such a great soldier. He's almost like inverted Captain America, to where he didn't have anything to prove. He was just like, yeah, I'm the best. Of course I'm going to volunteer for a...
Yeah. It really does feel like if you just think of Deathstroke, then you get a boring story. But when you start using Slade, you can do great things with the character.
Yeah, it gets more interesting. Also, I really love that, in issue 2, after Dick narrowly escapes with his life when Deathstroke shows up. I do like the sequence of him going to all the other locations and sort of piecing together with detective skills, where they all went, how did this happen? Starfire got tricked with the present and so on, and Donna get tricked with the chemicals in the red, the dark room, and all that stuff. Because in the animated movie, that all plays out like a montage where it all happens kind of at once.
Oh.
Yeah. I also really like that in the sense, obviously, when we get to the bit where he becomes Nightwing, and we get how, he talks about how he is a product of Batman, and this kind of, that stuff shows that. It's like, no, this is why he's a detective at heart. That's because of Batman. This is who he is now, and he can't just forget that, even if he isn't Robin anymore. Yeah,
I also really like that when he's in the middle of all the fighting and stuff in the last issue, Starfire looks up and goes, hey, he's like, call me Nightwing. Because no one knows what to call him, because none of them have heard the name yet.
Yeah.
But that's really good stuff.
Well, they call him Grayson through the majority of it, and even at one point, they're like, wait, we just gave away his identity to Hive. I thought that was a fun little...
Yeah,
because again,
I think everyone's
name.
Just because obviously they know that Slade knows, and it's kind of this open secret. It's like, it doesn't matter right now.
Yeah, right. There's this also genuine sadness at the end because Beast Boy's upset of Terra's dead because she's under the rubble, and they have the whole thing where they have the funeral, and then her half brother Geomancer's and they don't let them all know that she was evil and that she turned to the dark side and she did all this stuff. They let them think that she went out a hero, that she went out just to, cause a bit of less pain. And the final moment of the book, of course, is Beast Boy looking at the grave, the big sort of crypt, not crypt, but big giant gravestone. She gets a big proper hero statue of a thing, and all that. By the way, I love that their table in the Titans Tower is shaped like a T.
Why wouldn't it be?
I love it. It's just something I was noticing.
Joe, it is amusing. We've gone through all this and we haven't mentioned Cyborg once. I know we joked at the start of how he's just
Here's the thing.
not in it. But...
Right, so Johns has had this mission since he took over the Teen Titans to make Cyborg matter. Yeah. And I fully get it now. Because even his origin here, he kind of is just like a pop culture referencing cyber jock.
Yeah, he was like, I want to do something with this blank slate.
Yeah, and
that's what he is here.
I wish I enjoyed the character more still.
Honestly though, I kind of like him more here than I have done when they've tried to force certain elements. Because they've tried to make him more, and all they've really kind of done is accidentally made him into a telephone post, right? Whereas here, at least, he felt like he was part of a team, and maybe other stories from back then did give him a bit more to do.
Yeah.
but just this wasn't his story.
Yeah, this wasn't.
Well, I liked when he was ice skating with the kids.
Yeah, that was
not
fun.
Good at it.
It was that idea that he tries to help his community, because like they're making fun of his neighborhood. He's like, oh, do you live here? This is like, I can't remember what they said, but they're
it's kind of like teenage Luke Cage almost.
Yeah,
it is, because he talks about how like all these people used to live here and it was this community, and then they left, but maybe we should come back and make it a proper community.
Seeing him trying to like help his local community and like play with the kids and stuff, like I actually kind of like that stuff. Maybe they should focus more on that in the newer iterations, and maybe that would give him a bit more of a heart kind of thing.
Yeah,
it is sad to go. Maybe they should make him more like Luke Cage, but if that's what you got to do to make it work, at least as a starting point.
Yeah, I feel like they get so into his tech. And I feel like Wolfman and Perez didn't care so much about his tech. Like, oh, if we need him to, detach his arms and use them for other things, cool. But first and foremost, it is about his neighborhood. And
here's the thing, though,
he's
about
more
the tech,
human.
Is honestly the idea of exploring like a proper cyborg-esque science fiction story sounds really interesting to me. The problem is every time they've seemed to try to do it, it always comes off as really kind of phony and half-assed.
Here's what it is. They keep going, we need to tell these stories about proving his humanity, but it would be so much easier just to show us these human stories of things like sorting out a neighborhood, going with the talking to the kids. That is proving his humanity more than you do by having this whole story
I am
about
sure
it.
this has been done before. I'm positive it must have been. But surely a great story to tell with Cyborg, and one to do today would be to have him be really human, do all this stuff in the community and stuff, and then have a virus get in, right? And have him actually have to fight off the virus. Like, the virus is trying to make him evil, but he's, like, fighting back. Like, have the human side beat the computer side, and that's how he beats the malware or whatever.
I would almost
Didn't that
actually
happen in
catch...
Justice League?
Yeah, that was the whole Forever Evil.
Yeah, but Like, they never really went into it, though. I never felt like it was explored properly. Like, I'm thinking of, like, a cyborg-centric story, as opposed to just, like, part of the Injustice thing.
I'm just looking at it like Johns moves him to Detroit. That's the perfect place because he can rebuild there as the city's being rebuilt. Like, it's all perfect.
It makes sense.
Even if you want to do a virus, have it attack his human side. Have it be a legit like human virus, and the computer goes into like not power saving, but like
the idea that
it needs to take over so he can fight the virus. The
idea that maybe there isn't enough of his human biology left to fight the virus, so the computer has to step up and solve something.
Right.
That could be interesting.
As a plot concept, sure, but as a character arc, I don't know. Like, this is the problem. Like, I feel like so far, like, we keep suggesting things,
but they focus so much on the tech in here that's never once addressed. Like, except when he fights Deathstroke, and Deathstroke's like, your problem is you have all this strength and all these threats, but you're not going to follow through, and that makes him weak.
That's it. He has that moment where he's, pushing his limits, and he talks about how, he wants to prove he's more than just machinery because he has limits that he can break like a human and not just, this is a hard limit like a machine.
Yeah.
That small moment there is more than most of the other actual cyborg stories that you typically read.
No, I agree. I think the other problem is that they forced him into this role in the Justice League. They tried to put him in with the A players, if you will, and he's not earned it in story. Like, writers have not earned the right to put him with the rest of the Justice League. They just haven't.
Yeah, except to be the telephone pole.
Except to be the telephone pole. Yeah.
They need a boom tube in and out real quick. Yeah, Cyborg's your dude. And that might be the biggest problem Johns has done with him by making him so integral to his first Justice League story with the Apocalypse tech. Like,
it's really kind of just shoehorned him into that role now.
Yeah.
Because it was this is the big Justice League thing. People are stuck with that now. They can't reimagine a different version of him to go with something else.
Imagine if it was Trigon attacking in that dark side, and we get Raven in that upper section, and she just has the same role. I wonder if people get more upset.
You'd be infuriated because it's like, no, this should be her story. She should be having a role in this.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but why don't people seem to care about Cyborg as much? If he's just reduced to the teleporter.
Honestly, I think there's just something. The core of the creation of Cyborg he's just kind of a really generic idea.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The reason that we don't care that he's just a telephone pole is because he doesn't have these great stories. But no one's writing these great stories because everyone just thinks of him as he's just the telephone pole. Right. So it's really hard to break this. The only way it's going to happen is if someone comes in and goes, "No, I'm going to do something different, like drastically different." And that's going to make you care about him as a character, and then you won't accept.
It's funny actually. We talked about Priest talking about the we need to do new things with characters. What now kind of thing. I'm like, Cyborg is the one we need more than anything. Someone needs to come in and say, "No, let's completely shake up what the character is. Let's do something completely different with him."
Yeah. I agree there. Almost, what if Priest had added him along with Wally, young Wally, to his team like that? I think that could be cool. Is almost like Cyborg's like, I'm going to be the Justice League's check and balance to make sure you're following through on being a good guy.
Yeah.
He needs a dark side or something. It's kind of.
It just needs
something.
Something.
Yeah.
That's it, isn't it?
Not dark side, a dark side.
I suppose I said.
I know, but for people that might be misconstruing it, sounds like he needs dark side.
No, not dark side of Apocalypse. A dark space side.
There you go.
But yeah, I feel like he is. It's like everything that Priest said about Nightwing is kind of how we all feel about Cyborg.
But it is,
and
it cracks me up because we all had Dick Grayson in our top 3.
Yeah, we all love Dick.
And we all love him. And so when I read that, I was just like, well, he clearly doesn't know what he's talking about.
Actually, I'm going to offer a bit of analysis here and why I think that because I think we and then a lot of DC fans love a lot of legacy characters. We like Dick Grayson, we like Donna Troy, we like someone that Matt made up that we don't talk about. But we like a lot of these legacy characters, and I think part of the reason for it is because there's something about. Because these characters admire the biggies. They admire Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern. They admire Barry and Hal. And they try and live up to that. And in a weird way, for us as readers, as fans of these characters, we can relate to that because we want to try and live up to them. So that there is almost this weird thing. And I know people have often said, they introduced Robin so that kids had someone to relate to. But even on a more broad scale, in a more kind of fulfillment level, there's this weird thing where we kind of want to live up to these characters, but we feel we can't quite succeed. So seeing these characters try and be something and be a part of their legacy without actually being them themselves... Even though that's really exhilarating when they do have to step up and be, Dick has to be Batman for a while or whatever, Wally has to be Flash. It feels like, no, we grew with that character. They weren't just them from the start, that all these big characters were. They had to earn it, they had to become it, and we appreciate that.
They did, and the only reason that they did that is because someone went, we've got to do something different with him. He can't just be Robin forever. So someone had to go, let's do something else.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, too, they were getting their butts kicked by X-Men. Because this is also during the Claremont X-Men era, and they needed to do something.
Which, by the way,
a young team.
Now that you've mentioned X-Men, there was a mutant line in there that I thought was rather interesting.
There was, right at the end.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't Wolfman and Perez work on both at one point? Because I know they did some crossovers in the 80s. You had Teen Titans X-Men crossover, but
I couldn't tell you.
I feel like that was a nice little shout out, which you used to get back in the day, but. But yeah, they needed something to combat that, and that's, I think, where the Teen Titans even came from with the updated... You added Raven, you added Cyborg, and you added Beast Boy. With the originals in there with Dick and Donna. So, to make this cool new team. And Corey.
Well, I'd say on the story and things that, are different from now and then, I miss Beast Boy's mansion.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Why can't I
he was
by the way...
forget that he was a kid TV star or a movie star.
Yeah.
We didn't mention this, but in all the ways that they get taken down, I love Beast Boys. Like, basically, they send a fake letter saying all these fangirls want autograph photos. So he gets out a big stack of photos and starts signing them all, and it's licking the envelope glue that's laced with something to knock him out, and that's how he gets put down.
It's brilliant.
That's why I don't like envelope glue. I tape it.
Just get the ones that have the adhesive.
Catch me.
Yeah. The ones that have the adhesive there that you just pull off the piece of paper.
What if Deathstroke had made that lady that was dressed as the maid, who clearly wasn't a maid because she was, I should have followed my mom's advice and been an exotic dancer.
Oh, that was a really weird line. Like,
yeah.
What if he had made her do it? Like, there goes Deathstroke and Terra's plan completely.
Yeah.
But no, it was an enjoyable read. Getting past, I had told Pete earlier in the week, man, I'm having trouble getting through this. But once I got to the Slade issue, well, even before that, halfway through the Dick Grayson issue where he's piecing it together, it was smooth sailing from there.
Honestly, I think part of the trick of reading these old comics is you get kind of good at knowing what sort of narration boxes you can just ignore because they're kind of redundant.
Yeah.
You just kind of skim over them.
Yeah, because some of them will just tell you what's happening in the art, and it's like they didn't. And obviously, this is something that's changed. Is the art's gotten a lot more advanced and intricate, and they trust the artist to tell some of the story. They don't have to tell you everything.
But if you notice, Wolfman and Perez get the dual co-creator here, just like that we see more recently. So I think that's cool. They're both.
I do also think it's that first issue is a little bit harder because, like you say, it's kind of just a reintroduction of this is the status quo at the minute. For anyone else, it's a reintroduction. To us, it's here's what you need to know. But that kind of feels like okay, we're just kind of waiting for the story to get started. Whereas once you get to that stuff where Dick Grayson's doing the investigating, that's kind of where the story really starts.
I would even put the last half of the last issue up with most of the modern comics. When she just snaps finally, and she decides she's gonna just murder everybody, and they said her eyes glaze over, and it's
actually, and this is the other thing,
got all the emotion.
Is they really set up how powerful she is. That if she goes nuts, that everyone's kind of screwed because she is just like bringing earth and stuff everywhere. The rocks are just going everywhere and killing people.
And I forget who mentions it. I think it might be. I want to say it's Dick's narration, but he's like, with her powers, she could have saved the world. Literally, she could have changed, tundra and desert and made it livable. But instead, she let her hate corrupt her, and this is what had happened.
Yeah, it was like you don't realize just how powerful she is. She's throwing rock around, whatever. But then it's when she turns she brings the quicksand up, so they all start sinking into the and they can't move. Like that's so inventive as a use of those powers.
Oh, and she covers Dick Grayson and Beast Boy in mud to suffocate him.
Yeah.
In fact, that's just one of my nice little moments. I love Donna squeezing Dick when he's covered in rock to break it. He's like, I have to squeeze him just right because if I do it too much, I'll break all his bones. I just and she cracks it. I love the hijinks as well of Nightwing and Jericho sneaking in, where Jericho takes over one of the guards. So there's 3 of them walking or there's the Jericho inside the guard, and the kind of that was one of the weird things here that is different from modern Jericho is that he seems to kind of disappear when he takes over someone.
It seems to be either or because when he takes over Dick and Slade, he doesn't seem to disappear. But it's when he wants to, he can go into them entirely. It seems.
Yeah.
So that was something that sort of I noticed that because it was different. I was like, I was sort of paying attention to it. But now the hijinks are them sneaking in and then. He can talk through the guy if he's unconscious, but once he wakes up, he'll still have control, but he can't control his voice. So the guy starts screaming, I can't control myself, someone help!
That's pretty great.
And then
in all their weird Cobra Commander costumes.
Yeah. And then he transfers from him to the guy with a gun up in the balcony. He's waiting to get an eye line, and then he gets it and he jumps up and he's like, wait, I dropped my gun!
Yeah, he just goes, contact.
Yeah.
That's whenever you see that word just pop up, it's like, he's got it.
I wouldn't mind a whole issue that's like the silent, the silent G.I. Joe story that they ran out of time to put the lettering and word balloons in. And it was all Snake Eyes doing ninja stuff. I would love a silent Jericho issue that's just him jumping from sightline to sightline into people, and that's how he infiltrates a building for Deathstroke.
Honestly, his controlling people power, I mean, it sounds kind of fun in a goofy way at first, but it's kind of whatever. But this idea that it has to be triggered with eyeline, that was what makes it super interesting to me, because it gives it this really fun story beat where you're waiting for him to get the eyeline. It has to get it.
It's especially good when they've all got these big hoods on, and you can't actually see a lot of their faces. So you've got to actually catch it. You can't just look at someone.
Yeah.
What would happen if Jericho jumped into somebody, but Deadman was also on the case and he tried to possess them?
Ooh, I do not know. That's an interesting
want to find
question.
out. That is a story waiting to be told.
Yes, it is.
That's an interesting question.
And can Deadman possess Cyborg while Jericho's inside of him? That might be. I'm just going to combine all of our ideas. That's it.
Sure. Let's do all of it. Let's do all of it.
Just do it.
All right. Any final thoughts on Judas Contract? I think we're all glad we read it and crushed this classic off the list.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I am. I'm glad we crossed this off. So that was a fun pick. That one with 100% of the vote.
Everyone who voted and made us read that one.
Yeah. So this is a fun thing we're going to do every 5th week. So I think the next one's in August. The next time we get a 5th week, so there'll be a vote up. Sometimes toward the end of July, we'll probably put that up and give you a month or so, give or take, to vote on the next batch. What those options will be, we don't know yet. We'll decide that before then. Maybe we'll think of a reason to tie it into something that's going on, kind of like we did with this one with the Lazarus contract. Although Lazarus contract was less to do with Judas contract and more to do with pre-Judas contract.
Disappointed about that. Yeah. I figured Lazarus was a person and it was going to end up being Grant, and Grant wasn't actually dead this whole time.
Yeah, I was thinking all these ideas as well.
And how does that mess with Deathstroke? Because that's his whole reason for being, No.
I know, it's disappointing.
Far less interesting.
Which would have been fine if the rest of the story was still really good, but obviously, as we've talked about, it wasn't. So, here we go. So that wraps up our talk on the Judas contract. Good fun, classic, worth checking out if you want your Titans and Deathstroke history, kind of, and even your Dick Grayson history, all that stuff. It's a good milestone and all that.
It's actually kind of crazy, given how much we all like Dick. It's kind of crazy how that we hadn't read this.
Yeah, none of us had read this
before. It's a big moment for him.
Yeah. I think it's because as a modern comic reader, you tend to never go further back than the 90s that much.
Yeah.
I think it's also we it's a case of just we know this moment, so we don't feel the need to necessarily read it because we're so aware of it.
I was so familiar with it, and I was so wrong with how I was familiar with it.
Yeah, it's made me want to go right. What else have I completely got wrong?
Well, with a little bit of luck, we'll discover some more of this stuff on the show in these week 5. So, thank everyone who voted, and of course, check out patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to see some of the perks and stuff. Since last week, me and Matt did our Archie review, issue 20 of that, starting of a new arc. We talked about that on Patreon. Me and Connor have got Aliens Dead Orbit issue 2 coming up this week. And also Packless issue 1 from Image, which is a new anthology sci-fi series, I think.
Yeah, it is, and I'm insisting on getting Pete to do the James Bond one shot from last week.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have a couple of these bonuses up by the end of the weekend, actually. So there should hopefully become some of them coming very short. We had to get all the DC books out of the way first, but so that's coming. We are going to do Power Rangers, the regular ongoing series, but we decided to wait until the new arc starts because it's right in the middle of an arc right now, and I feel like a really weird place to jump in and start doing reviews. So we're holding off until the new arc starts. All right, we're inserting this because we forgot to go over it because we did the best. We did the picks of the week before we did Judas contract, so I'm just slotting this in before the outro. What's coming next week? What you've got to look forward to in week 1 of June. So we have Batman number 24, we have Deathstroke number 20, Green Arrow number 24, Green Lanterns number 24, Nightwing number 22, Superman number 24. We also have Wonder Woman Steve Trevor number 1, which was a weird one shot that just kind of popped up in the solicits with little fanfare.
Yeah.
But we're going to check it out.
Written by Tim Seeley, though. So
Tim Seeley, indeed. So we're going to check it out. Also out, although I don't think any of us are covering them, is Aquaman 24, Bane Conquest number 2, Cyborg number 13, Harley Quinn number 21, and Justice League number 22.
Fallen Rise of Captain Atom number 6 as well.
Did they get pushed from somewhere then?
No, it's always a week 1.
Really?
So, yeah, it's always a week 1.
I must have glossed over that then when I was making my
It's just,
my document.
It's just you doing a half job.
Yeah, it's alright.
Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Let us know what you thought this week's books and the Judas contract, of course, in the comments below on YouTube or on Twitter or on Patreon, anywhere that you can leave us comments and that sort of stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates and podcast updates. Individual Twitters are on the screen, but for the audio people, those are at Wibble89 for myself, Connor Ryan94 for Connor, and Matt of Steel 57 for Matt. But that is us. I am actually, I'll tell you this, a little behind the scenes, I am starving. I am going to go eat like no tomorrow once we finish here. So thank you very much for watching and or listening. Keep reading comic books, and always remember, never get lost in the Speed Force.
Connor Kent does exist. A-hole.